So I had a request to go over the hand and the foot, and that way you can get a better idea of which bones are which. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and you'll see the appendicular skeleton slide there with the hand and the foot. And then they both contain a right hand and then a right foot. Remember with the hand that you have to do supination of the forearm. So you have to actually rotate your hand around so that you're seeing the palm of the hand and it's down at the side. And so that's going to allow you to see an additional carpal that otherwise would be blocked if you were looking at the back of the hand. All right, so here is the hand. This is the back of it. And then when we do supination, you'll see that when rotated around, this carpal here, you can then see. All right, and then it looks very different from the foot. So here's the hand, and then here is the foot. All right, and so with the foot, when the foot is positioned correctly, there should be a hump in the middle. Okay, and so back here is the heel, and it points down, and there's a hump in the middle. So if you're ever studying this guy and you flip it over and you notice that there is a hump in the very back, then you know that you have it incorrect. You need to flip it. So it needs to go like this. So there's a hump here. All right, and this one's going to be a talus. And so one way I remember talus is that talus is one of my tarsals, and that the specific tarsal that is going to articulate with the tibia is talus, and all those T's stay together. So the tibia articulates with talus, and talus happens to be a tarsal. You have calcaneus here and navicular here, right? And then these are going to be your metatarsals. They're identified by the big toe being 1. Same thing with your hand, gets to be 1. And then your actual toes themselves, the big toe and your thumb both miss a middle phalanx, so it has a proximal and a distal. And then your other ones will have proximal, middle, and distal. Okay, so that's with the foot. And then with the hands, right, you have 8 carpals here. In your lab manual, you're responsible for 3 of them. They kind of shape like a T here, coming off of that 3rd digit. All right, so that's the top of the T there, and that's the stick of it, so it's upside down right now. If you go thumb side, all right, you're going to skip this one, and this will be your first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then come back, and you can count 4 more that way. And so here, that's scaphoid and lunate. And then the other one you have to know is this middle one here, which is captate. And so there are mnemonic devices to help you remember these in order. And so there's some lovers try positions for pisiform that they can't handle as handmade. And then, so if you have to know all of them, you can look up a mnemonic device. And then the actual metacarpals here are identified 1 through 5, 1 being at the thumb and the little finger being 5. And so thumb, again, once you get to the phalanges, it misses a middle. So you have proximal and distal. And with the rest of them, you have proximal, middle, distal. All right. So let's look at that PowerPoint that I mentioned. Okay. And so here you see the pictures of the hand and the foot, and then I place some stars to kind of give you an idea of things that you might need to study. And so again, with the stars at the very bottom of those pictures, you're identifying carpals on the left and tarsals on the right. And so calcaneus, talus, navicular. And you do have some other ones, and I'll mention those in a second. But in our lab manual, I'm sticking to the ones that are in bold that you have to know. With some other instructors, they may want you to know all of them. And in future classes, you may have to know all of them. But that's just how I roll with this one. And then your metatarsals are going to be those longer bones that come off of the tarsals, right? So the one starred right now is your 2nd metatarsal. And then proximal phalanx, remember the big toe doesn't have a middle, so that next star towards the top is the middle, and then distal being over the nail bed. The nail bed would cover those. Going over to the hand, scaphoid lunate down here, and then capitate there. The first metacarpal is listed. So carpals let you drive a car, tarsals let you walk through tar. And then you have your proximal, and then middle, and then distal. All right, so if you're looking at like an image of it to kind of get a feel for what's going on here, these are both going to show you a right leg to you. This one, your picture is a right, this one is going to be the left. And so scaphoid is that first bone at the wrist here. So it's kind of like a red kind of brick color. It's going to correspond to this one over there. And then lunate here, and then capitate is there at that middle digit. And so the 3 that you have to know in lab would be those there. And again, that guy, the drawing that you have here, that's going to be a left hand, whereas the image that you have in your lab manual is a right hand. The foot. So when you look at the foot, calcaneus is in the back. You're going to have a tendon that you'll learn when we get to muscle man that is going to attach here. So your calcaneal tendon, also known as your Achilles. And then talus is that one that has the nice hump on it. It allows that inferior surface of the tibia to articulate there. Navicular is right in front of it. You do have some cuneiform bones, 4, 5, 6 here, that are identified as medial, intermediate, lateral, and you have a cuboid bone there. But as far as my students in lab, we're just going to stick with 1, 2, 3 right here. And the stars would identify which ones you have to know on that one. So looking at the hand and the foot, they're not very challenging. Just make sure that first you can identify it's a hand, it's foot, and then kind of work your way through. Since they are similar, I recommend that you study them together, especially like when we get closer to the midterm, you should be able to throw bones on the table and identify which bone is which. Being able to identify the hand foot should not be that challenging. Some of the other bones that you probably want to study together would be your long bones, especially the arm and the leg. So humerus compared to femur, tibia, fibula, radius, ulna compared to each other. You want to study those together. The scapula and the os coxae, typically you want to study those things together just because they have some because they both form a ball and socket joint, and sometimes people get them confused. Okay, so but once you can realize how those puzzle pieces fit together on the skeleton, it makes a lot more sense. And so it's nice to study structures that are somewhat homologous together because they resemble each other. So just do some compare and contrast with those. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and hopefully you are good on these.